Wonderful. So just some housekeeping items. All the participants are muted, but please feel free to use the chat. We'll be asking questions throughout the presentation. Megan, I'm just the moderator. Megan is going to be presenting today. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A or the chat, and I'll be queuing those for Megan. And we'll pause during the presentation to ask some questions, and also at the end. The webinar is being recorded and will be available afterwards. And welcome. We're really excited to have you in today.
For sure. All right.
Perfect.
And we are your hosts.
Yeah, your host. I'm the moderator. So I'm Alejandra. And today we have Megan, Head of Education and Assessment. I know a lot of you are customers and you work closely with Megan. So we're really excited to show you today's presentation. Megan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. It's exciting stuff. So today's session, we're going to talk about how we can examine methods of combining data from multiple sources to improve curriculum and student intervention offerings. We're going to delve into the strategies of aligning didactic and experiential learning data to support students before they encounter difficulties during rotations. And then we're going to explore various methods of harnessing the data from ExamSoft, Canvas, Core, and our other data partners to identify opportunities for improvement and make informed decisions effortlessly. So, Super Bowl Sunday is coming up. I don't know who you all are rooting for. That might be too controversial to get into in an hour here. But if you know football at all, that's the Lombardi Trophy. So my question for you all is to tell us what your biggest success was in the last academic year. What did you accomplish? What are you most proud of? What's your Lombardi Trophy for your program?
Yes, tell us who's your team, and also tell us what has been your biggest success. Please put it in the chat. We want to know.
I'm still, I keep joking as you're writing, I'm still in mourning from the season as a Cowboys fan. This shouldn't shock anybody who knows anything about football. We take it really personally every single year when we're repeatedly disappointing. So any of my fellow Cowboys fans might know that feeling.
I don't know a lot about football, but I do know people are shy this morning. They're not answering the question, and that's okay. We'll go through the session and ask you more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh. All right. So our customer successes that we hear about most often are where people can streamline their processes, right? So the biggest thing we hear is, wow, this is like the one with the most points wins. I love that, generally speaking. You streamline your processes, make things a little bit easier. Awesome. Lebanese American University. Do you see that, Ale?
Yeah,
sorry, that just came in. I had to interrupt myself.
No, that's wonderful news. Congratulations. So the Lebanese American University got fully accredited. They got renewed. Congratulations. That's a huge
congrats. Yeah, so that's another thing that we hear from our customers, the success of theirs, that they're able to support decision making, and then accreditation becomes a lot easier to support using Enflux. We can intervene earlier to support our students and their success, and we can provide help faster exactly where it's needed most. All right, so here's the other one. If there's a win, sometimes there's a loss, right? The Super Bowl has the winner with the most points, and sometimes we have times when we don't feel like we've accomplished, right? They have the Cowboys, right? Exactly. So the next thing is to tell us the biggest locked door in your way, right? So the title of this is Unlocking the Power. So what stands locked to you? What seems to be elusive or that you can't quite get to? If you're willing to share, tell us in the chat what locked doors stand in your way.
And as people are typing in, I want to share some of the things that we hear with our customers and people that we're meeting with. One of the bigger ones is we're wearing too many hats. We're doing way too many things. And when everything is important, nothing is. The other one is spending too much time on spreadsheets or not having time to put all the data together in the analysis. So let us know what has been one of your challenges. Tell us in one word. What frustration can be a challenge too, right? Having too many things to focus the same time. Okay, we're getting some responses. Time, silo data, downloadable data, too many databases to get information from.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. It's like too many places to spread our focus. Institutional barriers exist from within. We have heard that when, yeah, no, these are great responses. So we're here to help you figure out, like identify how do we unlock that door for the, what is it called?
Yeah.
Where to start? Yes, being more proactive,
Yes.
reactive. That's it.
Yes, Melissa, that's it. Right? That's it right there. Where can we be more proactive? Where can we recognize areas that we need to fix, or we need to offer more, or whatever it might be, so that we're not finding out about it on the back end after something has happened, that we're able to support our students towards success and not remediate after there's been failure or find problems before they even become problems. That's the ideal scenario. And that leads to that time question, too many databases to get information from, the institutional barriers, all of that gets to the where to start to be more proactive rather than reactive. Awesome. So when we think of, for me at least, when I think about unlocking the power of your data, I think about ways that I approach my data and how we can think of them as principles. So what are some common ways or principles of thinking about our data to help us make it more meaningful to us? So the first is one we all know, which is review your data regularly, which goes back to that time piece and being in spreadsheets and being siloed. If you're all over the place and you're busy in meetings and teaching and on rotations and on sites and all of the other obligations that we have, and that's just work, never mind our personal lives and our free time that we think we have, we know we should do it regularly. The second is we should triangulate our data. And that's asking ourselves, I saw something here. Where else do I collect something similar? What other product, what other database, what other platform, where else does this information get collected in a similar way, so that I can check and see, am I seeing the same thing repeated? And we say triangulate because I think we all know in this room that we like to see 3 of something before we start to move on it. 3 is the magic number, even in data analysis, right, Ale?
Yes, it is.
The next thing is to be patient. And that goes back kind of with that triangulation. If you don't have multiple data points, or it's the first time you've done something, you kind of need to let it sit and simmer a little bit, make some tweaks here or there, but be patient with it and let it have its cycle or 2 before you start making fundamental changes, or before you start reacting or being proactive with that data, right? So starting to look at it and being patient with it to see if it works itself out, or see if really you do need to tweak things here or there. And then the fourth thing is be humble. And the way that I explained this to LA actually was like, people talk about passing the buck, right? And the way I think about it is, when you pass the buck, you're spending that dollar on somebody else, right? It's your fault. You take all 100 cents. We tend to do a little bit of like spending it elsewhere, right? So it's this person's problem, or this institution's problem, or it's the prereqs, or it's here, or it's there. And then we spend that whole dollar and we never actually have anything left to spend on ourselves. And that's where the humility is required, to say, maybe we do have some responsibility here. Maybe there's some way that we can be better as instructors, as a program, as a school, and where we need to take the responsibility and say, this one's on us. It's not necessarily on anybody else. Anything, Ale, that you want to add there, or you think I got it?
I think these are great points, right? Like how to review your data regularly, triangulate the data. You can have a stool with 3 legs and 4, but not with 2, right? That one wouldn't hold. How to be patient and enough. I love the analogy on being humble. But out of these 4, right, going back to focus, is like, out of these 4, which one, we would love to hear from you. Which one do you need to focus more this year? From reviewing your data regularly, to triangulate your data, to be patient or be humble, which one do you need to focus more on this year? Please let us know. Just type a word. We would just want to share with,
or a number. Yeah, tell us which number it is. I know for me, as you're typing, it's be patient. You know, I'm new or in my role here. It's been 6-7 months. I know, can't believe it, Ale, right? And I just want to do so much, but I got to be patient and let things take effect, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what we're hearing is be patient, mostly helping faculty to be patient and not want to change things so quickly. That's
Yeah.
you cannot be reacting too quickly, right? Number 3, be patient. It seems to be a trend. Number 2, triangulate your data. So we're seeing a lot of number 2s. The self-study is upon us. Number 2, triangulating the data. All of them. Yeah, that's valid. Absolutely. Patience. So it seems like number 2, patience, and number 2 are the winners, the trends of today's question.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. All right, so I'm going to jump into a couple of case studies and show you, and that's why number 2, triangulate your data, was bolded. So a little secret sauce there. That's what we're going to be focusing on, is ways for us to kind of move across our data sources, and working in our demo data, show you some cases about how you can help to triangulate your data. So the first one I'm going to work with is low outcomes on the curricular exam. And in this scenario, it's the PCOA. We all know PCOA has changed and maybe changing. Some of us may be keeping it or moving away from it, but I think the expectation of a curricular exam is evergreen, right? So in this one, we saw that there are some issues in the pharmacogenomics and genetics content. There was a brief uptick, but as a school, we might not be comfortable with our students performing 6 questions on such a foundational science and having such a struggle with it. So we want to make sure that we can bring our students up to where they need to be there. So we're going to go into our demo data here. So we found that PCOA result, and we want to go back and we want to see, is there an issue here with the students as they are moving through?
Megan, would you like to do it full screen so that we can see the perfect?
Are we able to see all of this? Is this good, Ally?
Yes, perfect.
You can see the dashboards?
Yes.
Awesome.
I'll use as
Right.
much space as we can so we can see the dashboards.
I agree. All right, so we're going to go here into the curriculum effectiveness and gap analysis. And this is going to show us sort of the breadth and depth of the exposure that our students are getting to these sorts of contents. So to the content. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to filter by in our categories, right? So we have that category name, pharmacogenomics and genetics. That's where our students seem to be struggling. So let's go and look for other places where we code pharmacogenomics and genetics and see how students are performing as they move through the didactic curriculum. So that's a level 2 tag. It's not going to be at the top level, which is usually, your bigger bucket names. So I'm going to go down here into our middle category, uncheck everything, and start typing in pharmacogenomics. I have it here and I have it here, and I want to see everywhere that it is. I don't care if it's an ACPE tag or a objective tag. I just want to see everywhere that it's been tagged so I can see what the nature of the happenstance is here. And I don't want to look that far back. It's a relatively new issue, so I want to look at relatively newer stuff. When I pull off those views, I can say, oh my goodness, our students are struggling with pharmacogenomics and genetics in the didactic curriculum. And furthermore, in spring of 2020, in the spring semesters, they're not really getting a lot of reinforcement of that information. And then when I look at it some more, I can see, oh, it's in a survey class. Okay, it's early in an introduction class. That looks pretty early in the curriculum that they're getting this content. And it doesn't seem like it's repeated again for them before they take that PCOA exam. So there's my second data point. It looks like they're not getting the exposure that I necessarily want them to get. Then I'm going to come over into our newest dashboard in the EDU suite and look at students and outcomes. And students and outcomes allows me to look at students or student groups either in one semester or across time. So if I just wanted to look at group comparisons, I want to see how everybody's been doing on pharmacogenomics and genetics to see if there's been any dip, if it's followed along in the didactic curriculum, the same that it's followed along in that PCOA. So I'm going to do the same thing here in the level 2s. I'm going to uncheck because it's a level 2 tag. It's nested under that level 1. And I'm going to look for my pharmacogenomics and genetics tags and apply those as well. And I can see that it looks like the students are seeing the items actually a little bit more often now than they were the previous time. And it's highlighting for us some of the areas of their deficiency. So I've looked at 3 data points. I found that the outcome isn't what we want it to be. And then I've looked back in the didactic curriculum to see that we might not be covering it in the way that we want to cover it. So the conclusion I'm going to draw from all of my data here is to add more breadth and depth to the curriculum, to look for opportunities in the courses to offer it earlier, and then to reinforce it throughout, right? Because it doesn't look like anybody's truly taking responsibility for it. In that curricular outcomes, we had a survey class, we had a foundation class, there's a mastering class in there as well. So it seems like it's sort of scattershot all over the place. So the answer here with after triangulating our data might be to sit down and say, where can we be more deliberate about integrating pharmacogenomics and genetics into our curriculum so that we can increase our students' success rate in this area? Questions on that?
Let's see if anyone has any questions, please let us know. You can type it into the chat. And as you all can see in our dashboard, we have cohorts, which is a new feature that we added into our platform. You can specify what cohort each student belongs to, even graduating class and different groups. So that way we can split your data and provide the insights by cohort, graduating class, even students that are on probation or at risk. But please let us know. Megan, right now we don't have any questions, but if we do, I'll let you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Another way that I think about the student groups is we often think about identifying our students who are struggling, and they're a super important group. We want to get to them really fast. But many times we struggle with identifying our students who are truly stellar throughout the program, the ones who deserve those commendations and that excellence markers. And this can be one way in the student groups to kind of track those students, identify them early, track them as they move through, and see if their performance keeps up as one of those top tier students. So there's ways to definitely find opportunities to support students who are struggling, but to also reward students or acknowledge students as they are successfully progressing through the program.
You can actually track students by scholarships and see what was the impact of the scholarship and how that group of students are performing.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay. All right. So our second case study, you can see this again, LA, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is experiential learning outcomes, right? So something that sometimes we can struggle with is like, how do we deal with preceptor evaluations? Many of us hear about these things sometimes when they're a little bit more anecdotally problematic, right? Like one person comes into your office and says, I'm having a problem with my preceptor, Megan. She never shows up on time and she doesn't know what ibuprofen is. Right. And we tend to deal with those one-on-one. But in being more proactive, what are the ways that we can support our experiential sites and our experiential preceptors to make sure that they have the tools that they need? So for this one, I'm going to go into our core dashboards. I love our core dashboards. Let me get them up here. Nope. And I've actually gotten a sneak peek, I'll just say that's while I'm pulling it up, of Core 2.0, as Jen, the brains behind those dashboards, is calling it. And it is stunning. I'm so excited for those changes. So the summary by question is where you would find the individuals, or by the question, those who are at a strongly disagree, or you're looking at your Likert scale. So I'm looking here and I'm seeing, here's my insight. Oh my goodness. In 2020, I didn't have very many issues, it seems, with preceptors and their ability to explain educational outcomes, provide feedback, basically do the important work that a preceptor does in instructing our students when they're out on rotations. But then we had this uptick where we're seeing, upwards of 14 individuals who are receiving strongly disagree and disagree results in the dashboards here. So we're seeing these come off of our preceptor or student evaluations of the preceptor. And we can even get, if we want to kind of see who our frequent flyers are, we can get that list of individuals and we can see who precisely might need a little extra support here or there. So in thinking to myself, and there's a reason I chose this one because it only has two data points, where can I find this information in another place? Where else do we ask our students how they felt about their precepting? Preceptor evaluations and the AACP graduating student survey, right? Those are our two main data points. We might have an institutional survey or something outside that we can bump up against too. But here's an example where we have 2 data points, but could potentially get a third if we wanted to do some focus grouping, for example, and work outside of the system. So I'm going to go ahead and go over into the 2021 AACP preceptor surveys, or the curriculum quality surveys, and into our survey analysis. That's where I want to be. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and say I just want to look at 2021 information and see, maybe I want to compare the previous year, but right now I'm just going to explore and see what I can find. And I'm going to go down to my master question list. And I love this filter because I can look for keywords, and I just want to know about preceptors. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the term preceptor, and here are all of my questions that have to do with preceptors. And what I'm really looking for is those professionalism things. So my preceptor modeled professional behavior, or attributes and behaviors. And then the big one that seems like all those questions get to, if we think about it, is, did they give me the instruction, guidance, and evaluation that I needed? And when I apply both of those, I can see, oh yeah, our students were upset about it on rotation, and then that continued on to graduation when they continued to rate their preceptors as not having the professional attitudes and attributes and behaviors that we'd like to see. And they felt like they didn't really get the experience educationally that they wanted to. So our 2 data points are going to lead us to the conclusion of providing support to our preceptors through a required training, and then individual meetings with the preceptors who struggled the most. You know, I don't think any of us are in the situation where we're like, hey, we don't need preceptors, right? And just like our students, if they're never taught the right way to do things, they can't have the opportunity to succeed. So this allows us to be proactive, support our preceptors, and lead to student success while they're on rotations. Any questions there, Ally, or anyone else?
Not at the moment. Some of our clients were asking if the core was an additional package, and yes, it's an add-on, as we have always explained to all of our customers. We have a modular pricing model, which means you can just keep adding data connections that we have available. So let us know if you have any questions. I'm curious to know, like, how are people utilizing the survey data? How are they triangulating their data currently? So let us know. How are you utilizing the data? How are you triangulating it? Are you doing it on time? Does it take time to get there? Because there are other things that kind of take our time so that we can be more proactive. I would love to if you can share your thoughts, that would be wonderful. And Megan, I'll share some if we get some through the Q&A or the chat as you're presenting.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So our kind of our last topic that I want to run us through is to show us to show some of the functionality of our Canvas boards. But the first thing, I mean, I would want to know is how many of us are using Canvas? And if you're not using Canvas, what's the LMS that you are using at your institution?
Yes,
throw
please
that in the chat.
Our first LMS integration has been Canvas, because it's the first one of LMS that is using competencies, but we are adding more into our roadmap. So please let us know. Yeah, I see Canvas, Blackboard, D2L, wonderful.
Moodle transitioning to Canvas, that's a fun one.
We're seeing
LMS transitions.
We see a lot of transition. Moodle, but would like to move to Canvas, using Moodle, but they're currently reviewing other LMS. Wonderful. Well, today we're here to show you, we don't get any, unfortunately, we don't get any commission or any referral money from Canvas.
I wish.
But we want to show you the power of what you can accomplish with Canvas, since it's the first LMS that has outcomes tracking.
Yes. So there's a couple things that we can do in Canvas, even if you're just using the Canvas product as most LMSs are used, which is as a grade book, as a way to track attendance and things like that. So I want to show some of the things that we can do in the the student course performance that can help us look at a higher level. Obviously in the student advising, I think we can all think of like one-on-ones where we can meet with students and move them through the advising and show them how they've been trending throughout their time in the school. But as an assessment person and as a programmatic review person, I kind of want to look at the bigger picture and see if there's any areas. So when I was going through our demo data, I actually settled on this class, the history of pharmacy. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull up every history of pharmacy class that has ever been taught in the demo data. And I'm going to do that again by keyword search, coming here on checking everything, and I'm going to look for history, and there's all my history of pharmacy classes. And I can come in here and I can look at my grade distribution, right? And grade distributions are a great way to start a story, right? Are we seeing something that looks a little off or a little bit of an outlier? And then can I dig deeper to see where the nature of that difference might be, right? So here I'm seeing, oh my goodness, in fall 2020, we had 4 failures in a class that we haven't had failures for across 3 years. It is only one data point, but an increase in failures like that warrants a look to see what might be going on and a way to track it forward. And so coming in here and looking at the assignments might be a way for us to go ahead and see what's happening. So if I look at history, and this is where we look at one class at a time, I can go ahead and I can see here we have above and below the desired average, which defaults to 75, but I can set to 70 or any other number that I want it to be. And then this is above and below the class average in the second view. And I can see that in 17, we had some pretty good distribution at the desired average and underneath the desired average, class average and underneath. Yeah, same with fall 18, nobody failed exam 1, but that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world, right? We like that. So let's go ahead and look at fall 20 and see what's happening there. And now all of a sudden I'm noticing that there's a lot more students that look like they did way better in certain assessments than they have ever done before. And I'm also seeing that there's certain assessments where they seem to have not done as well. Like this essay seems to be rather important to some of them. A lot of them did not do very well on it. And we have these quizzes where people aren't doing well. And then we had higher than normal failures or below the average on exam 1 and exam 2 than we've had before, but not at exam 3 and the final exam. Right. So for me, in kind of putting on my assessment investigatory hat, it would make me sit down with the faculty and say, what did you experience this semester? Did you find that the students didn't have as much knowledge as you wanted and it caused you to assess differently or change the level of your assessment to help the students, or did it hurt the students more? Because we're seeing more failures than ever before. So we have the data and then we have the conversation to see if the anecdotal evidence can kind of back that up a little bit. I tried this, it didn't work. We can see it in the data. But one of the most beautiful things, and I think, Ale, that's what you're getting at, is Canvas outcomes. The literature is alive with competency-based ed, right? We're all thinking about it in some way. It's either really in the forefront or at least it's noodling around back there somewhere. Canvas outcomes and our dashboards related to Canvas outcomes takes the hard work out of doing competency-based ed. Ali, I was on the phone with one of our clients the other day who's using this product, and she said, my faculty just go in and grade. They don't have to think about how many times the student has seen it. They don't have to calculate the mastery points. They don't have to roll up and see how many encounters they had with this competency before they were able to pass it. They go in, they fill out a rubric, they click submit, and your dashboards roll everything up for us and display it for us. So we can show you the number of times that a student has seen a particular outcome, how many mastery points that they have earned, and how many times they've been above or below the mastery points needed to earn. And we can show that by roll up by student or by course.
Which
we can
also
show that
the program have those outcomes that the institution, like the university, needs to assess for the regional accreditation.
Yes. So you can show this by the number of observations and how students are performing. You can show this by the course, by the individual student. So it becomes so much easier to track those students who need extra opportunities and retakes. That is one of the hallmarks of competency-based ed. And the students who can continue to move along because they've met the competency a little bit earlier. The power in this is that it saves the time of the faculty, that the lift is really on the parts of the education that our faculty are best at, figuring out the important items to assess, writing the rubrics, designing the assessments, and implementing them in the classroom, and not so much on the logistics, the data entry, and the data roll-up. We take care of that for you by connecting to Canvas.
And this
Anything else in here, Ellie?
I think like I see so much great opportunity with Canvas outcomes, because how many times do we ask, like, what do we do with the data that faculty like are collecting on paper, or they're collecting in a third-party tool that they wanted to download from like Apple Store, and they're assessing the students? Well, this could be the answer. You can tell faculty that they can have the freedom of utilizing different tools, but at the end of the day, they need to bring the grades into Canvas so that we can track the outcomes.
Yeah. This view is our ability to look at the Canvas outcomes with those defined student groups that we talked about earlier in some of the other dashboards. So now your ability to look at a cohort by cohort analysis of how they've done on rubric-based assignments becomes easier. Imagine providing this view to the accreditors. Of all of the times our students saw competency 2.1, here's our proficiency level. And the ease of it was all done by our faculty, just grading what they needed to grade in Canvas. I love this view. Enamored with it. I tell Jen all the time. I think she thinks I have an obsession.
Share with the team, to the everyone in the audience, who Jen is, a rock star.
Oh, Jen Jones, our rock star, one of our members of our business intelligence team, and she has been working with Canvas and core data, I want to say pretty much exclusively, right? She, her knowledge of now, not just the data, but like the actual platforms themselves is unbelievable. And many times when I'm working with clients who say, hey, can core do this? My answer is, let me ask Jen and get back to you. Because she probably knows. And she is, if you ever get the chance to meet her, she would blush to know that we were saying all these nice things about her. She's also one of the most humble people, right?
So rock star, and some of the conversations that we have had is, how do we provide best practices on how to set up the system so that you can optimize the data collection, so that you can get this kind of data, right? Because if trash in, trash out. So we want to make sure that you're setting up the systems correctly. So maybe near future, coming soon, maybe sharing best practices on how to set up the systems.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're interested in Canvas or Core and you want to see some more of those features and talk some more about what you can do with it, I have a very simple email, Megan@Enflux. If you haven't already worked with me, certainly feel free to reach out. But any of you who are working with me, I'd love to hear from you as to whether or not you'd want to trial or see some more of these products. And if you're using them, I'd love to get your feedback. Some of you, some of my core friends are going to hear from me soon to give us some feedback and maybe get a sneak peek of that 2.0. Exciting stuff. All right, so Ale, Q&A.
Q&A. Perfect. Well, we're getting a lot of comments on best practices on how to set up the system would be wonderful. Yes.
I agree. Yeah.
Starting with ExamSoft, Canvas, Core. There's so many things that we can do. Definitely. Okay, Megan, now we have homework.
It's on my radar.
It's on our radar. Please let us know
Yeah.
if you have questions for us, or if raise your hand if you would like to the microphone. We can definitely do that as well. I hope you have enjoyed today's presentation. It says, any updates on Core Comp MS integration? The update on that right now is we're going through the scope on when it's going to be on a roadmap. We are hoping to finalize a roadmap anytime soon so that we can open that to our customers and let them know what when our new integrations coming in. But we're still in investigation. And as you can see, there's so much stuff that we can still do with Core LMS, but we're getting closer to finishing that project.
Yeah.
Great question. Let's see. Any other questions? Can you create an individual student dashboard so that they can see their performance versus peers?
I'd love it.
We
Yeah.
do have an individual dashboard, Megan, if you want to go to that one super quick, we still have time. We do have an individual dashboard where you can track student performance. What the feedback that we're providing to the team is, how do we add that peer comparison? We do have peer comparison, how they did assessment by assessment. It's the other one, the student performance, EDU student performance, perfect. And we'll pick a student randomly in here, but in this dashboard, you can see the student performance across all the data in ExamSoft, how they're doing on the competencies. It went back to student performance, but we do.
Oh, I was in academic advising. Do you want me in academic advising?
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah.
I was looking at the new one that is showing like the bars, and it tells you how the student is performing. But yes, we have that, and we'll provide feedback to that one. Perfect. As Megan is going through that, I'm gonna go through the next question. Anything with FarmCast? Yes, that's the one that we want to investigate. That one is in our roadmap. We don't have a date yet, but it is part of our roadmap for this year. So Laurie, we'll provide a feedback. We'll provide a timeline as soon as we have that available. Will ELMS 2.0 be rolled out soon?
Hopefully. So right now we're in the process of reaching out to some existing customers to get feedback before we publish. We're in a great situation now where we're designing this with the feedback of our clients so that we're making sure we're providing the most value. So if you're a current customer, you're probably going to hear from me for a meeting within the next 2 to 3 weeks, just to sit down with Jen so she can go over some of the new features and get your feedback as to whether or not they'd be useful, or if there's more utility that she can add, and then we'll publish them from there. We really want to make sure this is driven by our customers and their needs. Yep.
Perfect. Wonderful. And then if you click on that chart, Megan, the one on top on the left, that's the one that for some
This one
reason
right here.
I like, because this is where we can see the student performance and by using the bar, but then we see what the class performance is as well. My story in this one is always like this: without this having data, you rely on the student to tell you how they're performing, but then having the data and saying, because if you ask the student, how are you performing in this course? Oh, I'm struggling, but everyone else is struggling in the course. But then when you have the data, it's like, I might feel that way, but actually the class average is above 85, right? So
right. Yeah. Or we can start doing the things that, hey, you were doing really well, and then something happened between spring and fall. What's going on there, right? Because we know when we're working with students, there are the data-driven decisions, there's the content that they struggle with, but we also know that sometimes there's things they struggle with that they might not share with us, things happening in their personal life. And if you can pinpoint something like this, wow, what happened? You can have a real frank conversation with your students about the support they truly need in the time that they need it. I love this view because I can see by the assessment. I can see by the course how they did, but then if I want to dig deeper and see, oh, well, everybody failed exam 1. Well, no, they didn't. The average was an 85 and you got a 50, right? So not everybody failed exam 1. So it gives you the ability to talk with students a little bit more openly and honestly and have real clear conversations, right? Our students don't always love doing that, but we know it's valuable for them.
Exactly. The next question is wondering if there's a way to print out or download a dashboard. So we can definitely create action plans and you can download the images. All of the images in the action plans get saved as an attachment. So there's a way of downloading just the image or the whole action plan. But in addition, we have something new coming up. We're still in beta. We're going to release it anytime soon, which is data export. So you're going to be able to export some of these data views so that you can share with faculty or run research. Like maybe you need the raw data so that you can do some statistical analysis. So that's something else that we're adding to the platform, which we're calling the data export.
And some of our dashboards like Canvas, or not Canvas, I'm sorry, students and outcomes in EDU. And there's some views and required CATs that already have our tooltip open and have the ability to download some of that data. It's going to be those crosstabs, those Excel sheets, CSVs behind the scenes, not the views. So if you're interested in some of those areas and you want to know more about it, or you want to know, does this one have it? Certainly happy to help you with that as you are navigating our platform. Again, Megan at Enflux makes it nice and easy.
Wonderful. The other one is just an FYI. Yes, we know PCOA is being sunset by NABP effective June 23rd. Absolutely. Let us know what you're planning on doing. Are you creating a homegrown end of curriculum assessment? We have also heard that some schools want to come together and create their own assessment. Let us know. We're here to help if that integration happens, like that collaboration.
Yeah, for sure.
The other comment is that data exports will be great to be used in AMS. That would be wonderful, being able to use the data in the AMS.
Very much agreed. Very much agreed. Yeah.
What would be wonderful if it just pushed data from Enflux to AMS.
Ideal. That'd be awesome.
That would be ideal. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Megan, do you
Yeah.
have any last comments?
Sure. I know we're here with a lot of our clients. So if you haven't already seen it, I just want to mention that the first annual reports for NAPLEX and MPJE have been released. We're starting to see those roll in. So if you haven't seen that announcement yet and you want to get your dashboards updated, we'd love to help you do that with your latest NAPLEX data and any of your surveys that have come out. So the best way, you know, we got to review our data regularly. So let us help you by getting those reports in for you.
Wonderful. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Please let us know if you have any questions. As Megan said, our emails are super easy. Alejandra@enflux.com or Megan@enflux.com. Let us know if you have any questions, if you would like to learn more about our new features or releases. We're here to help, and we love working with all of you. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.